Hey guys, so welcome to another episode of Be Remote podcast. So I'm your host today, Sunitha, with our two special guests. They are Christie and Taurie from GitLab. So hey guys.
Hi.
Hi, nice to be here.
So could you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Sure, I'll start. My name is Christie Lenneville, and I'm the Vice President of User Experience at GitLab. And that means I lead the team that focuses on product design, user research, and documentation, technical writing.
Amazing.
And I'm Taurie. I'm a product design manager here at GitLab. I work with the foundations team, and that team really focuses on the foundational user experience, the visual style, some of our technical tooling, as well as more high-level UX problems that span across the platform, such as our navigation.
Amazing. So that's great to know. And so here goes our first question. So the first one, this is more of, a personal question. So when you are not thinking of design, what is it that you do the most?
Well, this is Christie. I spend a lot of time with my kids. I have a 4-year-old and a 10-year-old, and they take up the vast majority of my non-working hours. But when I'm not playing with them or taking care of them, I really enjoy reading, listening to music, playing music.
That's cool. Over to you, Taurie.
I live in the Pacific Northwest, so we're really close to like the coast and the mountains. We have a small wine country here, so me and my partner just like to get out as much as possible, go hiking or camping, visiting restaurants pre-COVID. So doing things like that, trying out new things.
Amazing. So what are the places of visit mostly over the weekends? What are the best places of visit in your place? I guess you're from Portland, right?
Yeah, I'm in Portland, so it's a huge foodie city. We have tons of different restaurants of all different types. It's really hard to drill down and pick just one, but also breweries are huge here. I have a number of wineries, so there's really something for everyone.
That's great. Thank you for that, Taurie. And I have few work-related questions to you guys. So, so here's this question to Christie. So if you have a genie or a magic wand and you could change something, about things that could work in remote design team, right? What would those be?
Yeah, I'll start, but Taurie has such great experience here. Her answer is probably going to be better than mine.
I don't know about that.
But I'll lead off. I think that the biggest thing for me would be everyone feeling more confident about reaching out to their peers. One of the things that I've noticed is that in an in-person setting, you can see the people around you. You can kind of get a sense of whether they're busy or not, what they're working on, or whether or not this is a good time for you to approach them with a question.
Okay.
When you're remote, you don't know. And so I think you always worry that maybe you're going to interrupt somebody. Maybe you're going to be a little bit of a pest, which, by the way, I found is not true. People don't feel interrupted and they don't feel like you're pestering them, but it's that internal feeling like, oh, what if, I'll just try and figure it out myself.
Yeah. I think if I had a magic wand and I could do anything, I would probably get rid of COVID so we can all meet in person. And we used to do this every 9 months where everyone with the whole company would come together. I feel like this would help with what Christie is talking about a little bit, because we would learn personalities a bit more in depth, learn how we each communicate even further than we already do remotely. And we haven't been able to do that. So if I truly had a magic wand, get rid of the pandemic, and then we would all get to meet more often. And that would help just strengthen bonds and make people feel more comfortable communicating. Not that we're not comfortable communicating, we are, but just kind of making that even more explicit.
That's good to know. Interesting answers. Actually, you both spoke what's on my mind as well, right? So even I honestly feel team members are not so well connected now remotely compared to before, where we all used to work together at office, right? So that emotional connection aspect also comes into role, right? So it's a valid point. Cool.
I can tell you one of the things that we've done to help address that. And I think it's made a big difference, because when I joined GitLab almost 3 years ago now, the first thing that I did is I went and spoke with everyone in the department, one-on-one. And I said, hey, first of all, tell me what's going great.
Okay.
And what you hope we don't change, because that's always my big thing, is if something's working, don't go meddle with it. But my follow-up question was, what do you think isn't working well? And this was a topic that a lot of folks brought up. And so we introduced something called design pairs. And that is every 6 months, designers are assigned to each other. And that's your go-to person for asking questions, ad hoc design reviews, conversations, really whatever you want. We rotated every 6 months to give everybody exposure to more people in the department and really help them build those relationships. We do try to be mindful of time zones, so that it's easier for people to get in contact with each other. But then we really leave it free form after that. I got a lot of questions at first about, like, how are we supposed to interact in these design pairs? And my answer was, however you want. If you want to be mostly async, you can do that. If you want to meet once a week over Zoom, you can do that. It's up to you and what is comfortable for you. And it's made a big difference. And one of the things that I have heard designers who've been in the department for a long time now, 3+ years, say is, yeah, the people who I've been paired with, I still go back to all of the time. I feel really comfortable and close to. So we've continued to do that. And I think we'll continue to do that over the long term.
Wow. That's a really good work. And I'm just curious to know, what is it with 6 months?
3 months wasn't long enough. And at least that's how we felt. 9 months or 12 months starts to get too long, because again, we want to give people broader exposure to other folks in the department. So it's somewhat arbitrary.
Wow, that's a very good initiative. Yeah, amazing. So you said it's been 3 years you have started that, right?
That's right.
Okay, cool. Nice. So yeah, let's move to the next question. Okay, so how have you both started at GitLab, and how did that work experience help you in your personal growth?
I think Taurie should start on this one. She's got a great story.
I've been at GitLab for 5.5 years, just about. My role has really changed throughout that time. I started as a product designer, was growing in the IC path, and then about almost 2 years ago, switched over to product design manager for our foundations team, because I really had a focus on design systems and building the design system for GitLab and kind of more of those foundational aspects of user experience. In terms of how the work has helped me in my personal growth, I really think that the broad technical scope of GitLab has just increased my technical knowledge in general, which has been great. And then, like, shout out to Christie for building an awesome support system within UX. When I first joined, we were nested under front end. We've now built out an entire department. So I'm really surrounded by a number of leaders who've all brought in different kind of ways of working and industry standards that we're now using. And so that's just built up my whole UX like knowledge in general. So yeah, just going from the small team of, like, I don't know, maybe there's 5 UXers to now we have a department of over 60, I think. So it's been a journey for sure.
That's great. That's really great to know. Yes.
But I'm going to tell you that Taurie won't tell you, because she's very humble, is she actually wrote a book on design systems. This lady knows what she's doing. Yes. She's great. So I already mentioned this, but it'll be 3 years for me in February, having been at GitLab, and it's been an amazing experience. And look, it's a little boring, but I have to echo some of what Taurie's said. What's helped me in my personal growth is the amazing team that we have. I I always try to hire people and promote people who are smarter than me, Taurie. And that way I learn from them. And man, I learned from literally everyone in the department, not just from my direct reports who are directors and senior managers and managers, but I learned from our individual contributors all the time. They've helped me be a better leader. They've helped me be a better UX practitioner. And I feel really, really fortunate to have had the experience.
Wow. So I really second you on this, because always learning, not just from our seniors or, our managers, but also from those who work with us entirely in the team, right? There's always something or the other to learn from them, right? And that helping us grow as a leader and, expert in the profession is very good skill, I can tell you. Right? Amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And everyone can be a leader. So everyone can have traits and bring forth skills and share them with everyone. So
True.
It's great to just learn from the entire team.
Right, right. So moving to the next question. So yes, I would like to start with Taurie. So what are the biggest mistakes you think, remote design managers usually make?
Yeah, so remote design managers. I think that in terms of remote working in general, I think a mistake that new people make, so maybe not necessarily related to design managers specifically, but being able, like if you're going into remote work for the first time and you're not familiar with like coming up with your own schedule or routine, and there's two sides of that coin really, where one, it can be hard to focus for some people, and on the other side of the coin, it can be hard to step away from the computer. And it's really different, and that's personal for each individual of like what side of the coin you fall on, and figuring out what your own routine can be at home, or if you're working in a co-working space or whatever it is, to either reduce distractions or step out of the house when it's done with your workday, so you can kind of separate between the two. But I find that everyone is kind of on that spectrum of in some way, and it's determining which one you are and then how you navigate that for yourself. So yeah, I don't know if Christie has an answer specifically for design managers, but that's more just biggest mistakes for remote workers. I find that it's just figuring out what your own personality is and how you work with that.
Yeah, I think when it comes to management, one of the things that I've seen that remote presents a particular challenge around is identifying and dealing with problems early. Because you aren't sitting right next to your team, there's a different level of effort required to make sure that people are performing, engaged, and that they have good relationships with their cross-functional teams. And most people don't want to be complainers, right? So your individual contributors will wait a long time before they come to you and say, there's a problem here. So as a remote manager, you have to be really tuned in and really thoughtful and see when things are starting to move in the wrong direction, so you can step in, help them get back on track, because it's much easier to solve problems early than it is after they've been festering for a long time.
Yes, I do agree on this. I did see a few of my team members, slowing down on their progress, or, hesitating to get back to me in case they have problems. Yes, this is a valid point. I do agree. Awesome. Cool. So moving to the next question. So many people who are especially not in the profession, they assume UI UX design and product design are the same, are completely the same, right? So is it true? And if not, what could be the difference? Like, I would like you to tell our audience, what is the difference?
I can start. This is a really hard question to answer, because what I'll say is, look, I mean, realistically, those are just titles, and there are so many different titles for people who are all doing similar work. So if someone has the title of UI UX designer, I do not assume that they are not doing product design work. That's not fair. The title is whatever the company decides to give you. Now, philosophically, there's a difference. In product design, my expectation is that designers are thinking about the overall end-to-end experience of the entire product. That experience can start outside of the product. It can start with your support team. It can start with your marketing website. It could include emails that customers and users are receiving. And as they're solving problems, they are thinking about those problems really holistically. Traditionally in UI design, that's really more focused on the interaction of the interface. And there is a time and a place for that. So what I would say is, product design is the macro, while UI design is the micro. Product designers do UI design. Not all UI designers do product design, and sometimes that's okay. Sometimes companies have broken these skill sets out and have people really focus in deep on one particular area, and that's not a problem. It's all super important, and at the end of the day, what you want is a great experience that includes a really elegant UI. So now we're talking about so how do you get there? Is it one person? Is it multiple people? And I've been around long enough to know that there's never one answer to anything. But that's how I see it. Taurie, I'm curious how you see it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Different companies define these differently. Again, they're just titles. I completely agree with what Christie described as the philosophical differences. If I'm going out and looking for a role, I don't necessarily worry about the distinction. I would look at what the company is asking of me and if that fits with where I want to go in my career, because different companies are going to use those terms differently. And then there's other terms that people are using too. So it just depends on what they're asking for and if that's what you want to be doing. But yeah. In terms of philosophical, I'm not even going to go into that. Christie described it perfectly.
I will bring up something interesting and related, which is that UX is a wildly broad skill set. And it is not my expectation that every single designer is an expert, is excellent in absolutely every single aspect of UX. I will be the first person to tell you that I am not excellent at every aspect of UX. So instead, what I try to do is build teams where we have good balance. So if I know that I have some really great strategists on my team, but maybe at the end of the day, the UIs they design aren't quite as elegant, not bad, but maybe they could use a little more refinement. Then I might try to supplement that with someone who is a really exceptional UI designer. They understand strategy and they can do the same things and they can get there, but maybe that's not their wheelhouse. You think about it because there's information architecture, there's content design, there's user research, and all of these things. To expect is there may be some unicorns out there who are exceptional at everything, and I'm not going to say there aren't, but that's real hard.
Agree. Yeah. So just a curious question. So when there is a whole lot of difference between these two professions philosophically, there are situations where I've seen candidates taking a back step, thinking they wouldn't fit into the role which a company, the role which they open. But maybe it ends up that the company themselves are not clear if they want a product designer or a UI especially, or a UX. So any thoughts on that? Does it really happen, or is it just that I'm mistaking it this way?
I don't know how that happens. Taurie, yeah, you go ahead.
Yeah, so part of this is growing in your career and learning what interests you and what you want to do. And then that gives you some information to bring to interviews, to ask company questions, to get more insight into what that company is looking for, or if they're open to understanding the skill set that you bring forward. There's so many companies that say they want one thing, but they just don't know exactly what part of UX is necessary for a particular project or team, or what may have it, especially if the company is building out UX in the first stages of building that department. So just as you become more equipped with what your own skill set is and where you want to grow, then you can kind of ask follow-up questions to see if that is in alignment with where you want to be. Christie, I don't know if you have anything to add there.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, and I'll add to that by saying, if you find yourself in that position inadvertently, don't assume all is lost. What I have seen work really effectively is to start introducing those things to your job that you know are helpful, that you know will push your company and the product forward, and give your company exposure to that. Now, what I have not seen work well is to come in full force and say, you're all doing it wrong. We have this huge process we need to follow. Everyone's done. No. Pick the thing in the moment that you think is going to be most helpful from a strategic perspective and say, hey, I have an idea. Let's give it a shot. It's going to take 2 days. And at the end of those 2 days, I think we're going to be in a much better place. Can I get the time to do that? And then show the benefit of that. If you can show it with numbers, that's ideal. If you can't, if you can show it with just efficiency gains or better understanding of your users, that's also helpful. Now you got buy-in for at least that one new thing. Next time, let's go ahead and just include that in our process. And oh, hey, there's this other thing that we could try. Remember how well this worked? Well, this is going to make it even better. And then you start to build enthusiasm and appetite for the types of activities that you know are going to really push you forward as a product team. I've done this myself.
This happens all the time, right? Like we do it all the time. Even if the department is built out and you have a good support system and everyone's assuming best intent, you still have to come to the table with objectives that, show that you're benefiting the company. I had to do that with a design system, for example. Like that's pretty normal for the role of being able to give data to inform why you think we should be moving in a certain way. Sorry, Christie, I cut you off.
No, it's totally fine. And it's super gratifying when you take a team that doesn't understand much beyond UI design and you start shifting them towards real design thinking, and then they get excited about it and they're enthusiastic and they want to participate. And oh, that feels good.
Yeah, agreed. Amazing. Good to know that. Thank you so much, Christie and Taurie. So here comes questions related to remote work, right? So, so how did the remote team transition take place, right? That I guess it's been 8+ years.
Yeah, right? GitLab started as a really small team in one kitchen, basically. It grew out of that, and then it's been remote ever since. So we basically say GitLab's been remote forever. We started the documentation, our handbook, in order to help facilitate remote work. So for most of us at GitLab, myself included, it's just always been remote. It's just what we all know. And so that has worked really well because everyone comes in, has a similar experience where we onboard, we get familiar with the handbook, everything is documented. So if it's, you can read it in your own time zone. You don't have to be up at 2 a.m. or something for some meeting or anything like that. Just all of our flows and processes were built around that.
So did you not find it anything different? Because I'm sure it was not common more than 5 years ago, right?
Yeah, so this was my first fully remote role and I love it. I completely works with the way that I mentally work. So it wasn't a super hard transition for me, but kind of going back to my previous answer about two sides of the coin and whether, you're someone who has a hard time pulling away from work, or you're someone who has a hard time focusing. That just depends on the individual person.
It's great.
What I'll add is that GitLab's entire culture
Mhm.
is centered around remote work. Everything that we do is geared to make remote work work.
Amazing.
The biggest thing that I see that I think would be great for any company, whether you're remote or not, is the amount of documentation that remote work inspires. So think about the times when you've worked in an office and you've got a new project and you got to start from scratch. And where do you start? Well, usually that's not documented well. It's called tribal knowledge. So different teams are working in really wildly different ways. And then as decisions are getting made, 3 people meet and they make a decision. And then suddenly that's the decision. No one else knows that they've made that decision because no one's documented it anywhere. At GitLab, we document everything. So it's the company processes and how we work. It's also the decisions that we make around our product. So as designers, the designers are capturing their thought processes, their rationale, the different things that they explore in issues. And 99.9% of those are public issues that anyone in the world can see. But that means that everyone in the company has access to that same information, that same thought process. That means that messages also don't tend to get inadvertently skewed. So we've made this decision, here's why we made it. We didn't document that. And then telephone game happens and 10 people later, it's, well, just go do this thing. Well, why? Well, nobody knows. Just go do it. That was the decision. No, that decision is documented in an issue where you can go back and really understand the context. And then you can ask questions. If you think the decision's rationale wasn't great, you can bring up new points. So to me, that's one of the biggest benefits of remote, but I think in-person companies should do more of it too.
Completely agree. Yeah.
Right. I totally agree with you on this. Documentation when it comes to working with remote teams is very important, right? So there was a point where I was not, aware. I was so much into doing the actual work that I wasn't focusing on, me and my team weren't focusing on documentation stuff. But later we realized few people down or new team members, they find it, they come up with something different and new, right? So that's when we realized the need to have documented stuff, right? So it's a very valid point.
Yeah, well, and what happens in 3 years when it's time to make a change to the thing that you designed, and everybody goes, well, why do we do it that way? And if people have left the company, memories fail, you go, I don't know, right? But if you've got it documented now, you remember.
Right. Amazing. So moving to the next question. Having experience for such a long time working with remote teams. So is there anything of any such employee activities that you maintain within the team to help with the culture?
Yeah, we do. We do regular what we call coffee chats, which are just scheduling one-on-one time to talk about whatever. And previously we would come together every 9 months to see each other. Since we haven't done that, we've done some more different team building exercises or activities within different teams. So like the UX department did, what was it, Christie, like a goat? It was this woman who had a bunch of goats and we all got on Zoom. Yeah, remote goat rescue. It was really awesome. We were just all on this Zoom chat together, and this woman who has a bunch of goats came on and, was just awesome showing us her goats and giving us goat facts. So team building activities like that. Anything else come to mind, Christie, that I'm forgetting?
Let's see. So we do still meet. We have a weekly UX meeting where we all get together for half an hour over Zoom. It's not required. No one has to show up. But we also record it. So if you can't show up, it's available to you. And everyone is encouraged to participate. And actually, let me say that differently. Everyone is encouraged to drive the meeting. So all of our meetings have written agendas, every single one.
Wow. Okay.
We are all responsible for populating that agenda, both prior to the meeting and during the meeting. So prior to the meeting, if someone thinks there's something important for the UX department, all 60 of us, to discuss, they are warmly invited to go add that topic to the agenda, and we will discuss it. And as we have the meeting, we take notes about what people say, the responses. And if you want to add a response, so one of the things I really like about this is some people are shyer, they're more introverted. It's hard for them to break into the conversation. Well, if you want to break into the conversation, add your name to the agenda with a high-level take on your point, and then we'll get to your point. We'll say, okay, and now, Taurie, it looks like you have something to say, and Taurie can come in and really contribute to that. So to me, that's it. There's a lot of the fun stuff that really helps to build that team culture, but even the things that we do as part of our regular workday help to build that culture.
Okay. So part of your team building activities, you include informal activities as well as more of what is related to work. And everyone is invited, and they are, they are free to take notes, right?
Yes, in fact, they are encouraged to take notes. What I'll also say is basically anyone's invited. So yeah, we invite the entire UX department, but if product management wants to come participate, they are more than welcome to be there. There are no limits on who is invited to participate.
Yeah, we have a team meetings calendar where all the regular, like maybe UX has a team meeting and product has a team meeting and maybe a backend team. Those are all on one calendar, so anyone can really see and join when they want to or when it makes sense.
Okay, got it. So informal activities in the sense, I'm curious to know, is it like any online games or, offline meetups, as you mentioned, once in 9 months, or is there anything else that I could learn to incorporate?
Yeah, recently our team did, and we did this with Christie as well in a separate group. We did a one slider activity where we all put down it's in our handbook, so I can send it to you after this if you're curious, but we have like a number of questions that you answer, like maybe what do you like to do in your spare time, like your hobbies. But the funnest part, the most fun part, is all the photos that everyone adds that really gives you like a glimpse into everyone's personal lives. And then, so we took like an hour and did that with the whole team. And then a few months later, we did an hour of online games. What did we play? We played Among Us one time, Christie.
Yeah,
we played like a draw. We played like a drawing game. So yeah, we do things like that to kind of, just build up the team bonding aspect.
Yeah, and oftentimes for fun things, folks will invite their kids to participate as well. So I always invite my 10-year-old daughter to come and play games with us. She did the remote goat rescue. We really try to be very family friendly. We're all working in our homes. And so one of the things that we're really diligent about is making sure that people feel comfortable bringing their lives to work. So you got a dog that barks during a meeting, nobody cares. If your cat jumps on your desk and covers your face up during the meeting, which happens all the time, no one minds. I see, and here's a cat. There's a cat coming, here we go.
Cat's on my desk right now as we speak.
What's her name?
Her name's Alex.
Alex. Okay.
I know listeners won't be able to see my cat, but she's here.
Yeah,
hello, Alex.
Interrupted things many, many times. Nobody minds. And actually, when people apologize for, say, "Oh, I'm so sorry," we all say, "No, don't apologize. This is part of your life." And we actually enjoy it. It's fun to see the pets and the kids.
Yeah, it is.
That's so sweet. Amazing. So moving to the next question. So, we have different team members with, different pace of work and productivity, right? So how is it that you keep yourself and, even working with them, keeping them motivated and engaged while working from home?
Yeah, one thing that I try to take pride in as a manager is looking at the goals of my reports and matching those with company objectives. And I feel that if I'm engaging my reports and really helping them find opportunities that fit with them and where they want to grow, then the motivation is there inherently, because they feel supported, they feel like they're making progress in their goals, it's aligning with where the company is going. So yeah, I guess that would be my answer.
Yeah.
And this is true no matter what, right? I mean, it doesn't matter whether you're remote or not, everybody's different. Everyone has different approaches and different productivity levels. And frankly, that changes in all of us over time. So I personally have times when I am more productive and then other times when I'm a little less productive. And that's, it's just part of being human. So I think we try to remember that. I think the big thing here is when you actively see someone becoming disengaged in a way that is not typical for them, that's the time to know that, especially as a leader, you got to reach out and find out what's going on. Now, I said especially as a leader because it's not just limited to leaders. We work with each other. We care about each other, whether I'm your leader or a peer. It doesn't matter. If I can see like something's not right, reaching out in a supportive way to say, like, hey, I haven't heard as much from you lately. Everything okay? How are you doing? How's it going? That's the type of humanity that makes people want to work, want to do a good job, want to stay at a company and build relationships over time.
I agree to that. That's amazing. So yeah, moving to the next question. So what are the best aspects of the remote culture? Because today, I'm asking more about remote culture because our audience today is more on Be Remote podcast, right? So, so this is the last question of remote work related category. So, what is it that you find the best about this kind of culture, and which are to be changed? I mean, which are not so good?
Yeah,
so you want to go? You want me to go?
No.
I'll go ahead. Okay.
Go.
Okay. For me, the best part, I think I don't think I could go back to a non-remote work life. Particularly at GitLab, what works for me is the async nature of the remote work. And that works for me because I can benefit everyone way more if I can take a step back, think about a problem, and then come with something afterwards, rather than like split second, you asked me something, and then here's my off the cuff response. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of different topics. There's a lot of connecting pieces. And the async aspect really allows me to like, all right, take a moment, let me think about how these all connect together, and then come back with a response that is going to be way more helpful. So I think that has completely helped me in how I'm able to communicate and just inform how I work at GitLab. Worst is a lot harder because I just love remote work. One difficult thing, I guess I would say, is the time zones can be challenging. The async nature does help with that. Because I'm on the West Coast, I tend to have early meetings depending on when you wake up. Like normally I have meetings at 7 or 7:30 a.m., which is pretty early for a lot of people. But that just means I end a little early, so it's fine. But that can be challenging sometimes. Christie, over to you.
What you brought up as the best aspects are exactly what I would have said. Taurie and I think, have similar personalities this way. I am not best when I'm expected to be immediately in the moment. I am an introspective person. Mm-hmm. And I really value being very thoughtful about the things that I say. And so having the opportunity to step back and think about the impact of what I'm about to say, and to Taurie's point, the connections that I need to make between disparate pieces of information, is really, really helpful to me. Also, being able to be home with my family more, not having to commute, is an amazing benefit. I'm a terrible commuter. It stresses me out. I don't like it. And also being able to get up in the middle of the day and do a load of dishes or a load of laundry when I need to. Like, there's so much benefit to that. Like Taurie, I will never go back to working in an office. This is it for me.
Right.
In terms of the challenges, I'll be honest, I don't. Taurie has it worse on the time zones because she's West Coast control. So I think I've got it easy there. To me, there aren't a lot of downsides, but I get why that's a downside for Taurie.
Yes. Yeah, it's the same problem with me. I don't like commuting at all because it consumes almost 1.5, considering the traffic in Bangalore here. So I would love to work remotely for days to come. Right. Yeah. So moving to the next. So this is especially for Taurie. So, there are different stages of a product, right? For example, if it's a very initial one, I don't think we will have a design system built, right? So audience would like to know, how do you build a design system, and when do you think is the right time? When is it exactly important to build a design system for a product?
Yeah, this is like a whole podcast in itself, right? This topic, like we could talk about this forever. But generally speaking, like, yeah, newer companies don't typically start with design systems. That doesn't mean that designers can't start thinking systematically and how their designs scale as the product scales. Like, you can do that at any time. Maybe it's not a formal effort or a formal team, or however you've structured your organization. But there are system thinking that I think that you can start at any moment in the journey of your company. At GitLab, we definitely didn't start with a design system. It really came from the need of needing to, we have all these product teams and they're growing. We're getting more product teams. We're getting a much larger design team. So we need something in place that allows designers to use the same components, that allows front end to come in and pull from the same components, and really just build consistency throughout the product. So it grows organically, normally in an organization of like, all right, we see a breaking point and we're not able to keep all of the connections in place just from talking to each other. So we need to get this documented in a way that's available to everyone.
I think that's a great answer from Taurie. What I want to add is, this is the third company at which I've led an organization to build a design system. The most important thing that I've seen, and something that Taurie does and her team do an excellent job of, is making sure that when you build a design system, it's not owned by the quote design system team. Right. It is owned by everyone, and everyone needs to be bought in, and everyone needs to be contributing. The team who's responsible for the design system are responsible for making sure that we're making smart decisions about tooling, that we are making smart decisions about how we scale components, making good decisions about when something is ready to be a design system component, or if it's more of a one-off component, we're like, yeah, maybe we don't need that in the design system yet. Maybe this is the only place we're going to use that. So they are shepherds of the design system. When you get to a place where your design system team feels like they own the design system and they are designing components that you designers will use, the designers won't use them. They will revolt. And what you will find is that you have a design system that's worthless. You're putting a lot of time into something that's not getting used. So good job to Taurie and team. Y'all do an amazing job of that. And that's something that, other companies who are thinking about design systems, I would say, take that away, make sure you structure it in such a way that it is a shared ownership.
Yeah, exactly. It's a buy-in strategy of ensuring that, this is for everyone, made by everyone. And that also includes engineering. Getting engineering buy-in was super important from the beginning. And when we're building out new components, it's not just on the design side. We also bring in our front-end counterparts to ensure that we're building it in a way that makes sense and structured and works for them as well. So it's a team effort beyond just the people who are dedicated to the design system team.
Yeah, and the people who are using the components, they're the ones who ultimately know what components you need, how they need to work. Now, we've got some really amazing experts in our design system team who can think about those requirements and think more broadly than an individual use case. But those use cases are how you know what you need to do next.
Okay, so has the concept of design system been around for, since inception of this profession, or is it that something came around like within this decade?
Design systems started as like books and like branding books and like that. It's very different than what we think about design systems today. But if you think of like New York Transit System, they had a whole booklet of like how they map out different paths, and that was their design system. And it's evolved into software and how we build products now. So what we see as design systems in the technology space today is different than where they originated from. If you think about UX or product designers, design systems certainly weren't a thing forever since that title came into inception. But over the last, 5 or so years, they've exploded, and now everyone knows what design systems are, and they're popular because they help teams become more systematic, and goes back to documentation and consistency and making teams more efficient. So,
right. Yeah. Agree. Cool. So we have a final set of questions. So these are more like, this is for Christie. So is there anything that, you would like to talk about, especially remote work, like the best things and the best thing that has happened for you, and, or is there anything that I'm missing to ask you guys?
Yeah, okay. I've got one that I think is interesting. One of the best things about leading a remote UX organization is we're global. The amount of talent that we've been able to source from is incredible. So, we're not just looking in my little part of the world for the best designers in San Antonio, Texas. We're looking for the best designers literally in the entire world who are focused on our area of subject matter, which is developer tooling. And the opportunity to do that means I have worked with some truly incredible designers. So to me, as a leader, that's one of the best things about leading a remote UX team.
Well, what about you, Taurie?
Oh, I feel like I have to copy Christie's answer. It's exactly the same. Yeah. We get to learn from, all different cultures as well. And we're hiring all around the world. It's really an amazing experience to kind of be part of. So yeah, ditto. I wish I could give another unique answer, but.
And we didn't talk much about, we focused a lot on design in this particular podcast, but remember, we've got a team of user researchers and also a team of amazing technical writers. I wish I'd talked more about them, but same thing, we got really world-class folks.
We can work more on that. I'm curious to know more, right? That is the thing. And one last question. So, is it that, have you ever needed someone to relocate, or have you found someone, having difficulty in the remote work, and is there a way that you dealt with them?
I don't think we've had anyone have to relocate because, maybe that's happened in another team. I'm not aware of any instances of that needing to happen. People struggle with remote work sometimes when they first start, and that's where managers can come in and help understand, like, all right, what are you struggling with, and then help them through whatever that may be. And that's very personal, really changes depending on the person.
Great. Amazing. So is there anything you would like to tell our audience today?
We're hiring, so check out our hiring page, and thanks so much for having us. I really appreciate it. It's been fun.
This is why I love
I'm really happy.
That was awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much.
I was just about to say, this podcast is going to make at least, people in audience in my design community even more excited to work with you in GitLab. So yeah, that was what exactly Taurie just spoke. I'm so happy. Yeah, so thank you so much, Christie and Taurie. It was great talking to you today. So, all the insights we've been wanting to discuss, especially about remote work, has been addressed. So I'm sure this is going to really help our listeners. So thank you so much. Looking forward to connect with you again, especially on design systems.
Same. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you.
Bye.
Have a great day, both of you.
You too.